Welcome to the Audio Inc. Radio podcast, featuring interviews with the biggest names in rock and metal, hosted by Anne Erickson.
Get inked. Visit Facebook.com/Audio Inc. Radio, Twitter.com/Audio Inc. Radio, and AudioIncRadio.com for more ink. Whew, that's a lot of ink. It's AudioIncRadio.com.
You know it, it's time for the brand new season of the show. Are you ready? I said, are you ready? All right, great answer. I was hoping that you would say that. I am ready to rock with you for another amazing season, and it's going to be fun. I have some amazing guests lined up, starting with today or tonight, whenever you are rocking with me, starting with the guest that we have on hand. But first, I want to ask you, what was the first music that you ever heard? The first rock music. For me, I'm pretty sure you know this if you listen to me on the show on a regular basis, which hopefully you do. If not, you're in trouble with me. But the first real rock music that I ever heard was post-grunge and new metal, which I love. Classic metal like Judas Priest and Iron Maiden. I love 80s hard rock and metal and quote-unquote hair metal, all that stuff. And classic rock, I love grunge, just all different eras of rock and metal music. But there's no replacing that first stuff you heard. It's kind of like a first kiss or a first boyfriend or date or first love, whatever you want to call it. It's a first, and you never have that again. And that's how I feel about post-grunge music. It's the first music that I ever heard, the first rock music that I ever heard, and I'll never be able to replace it. Post-grunge new metal will always have a unique place in my heart. That early 2000s music, I think it's always going to be my favorite genre and my favorite era of music. It's funny, I made a playlist recently I called it Anne's favorite era of music, and it's pretty much all post-grunge new metal stuff from the early to mid 2000s, and I love it. I mean, the first rock bands that I ever got into were Shinedown, Seether, Creed. I was a huge Creed fan back in the day. I mean, I had My Own Prison memorized, and when I first learned bass, I learned all the bass lines for all the different tracks on My Own Prison, which I still think that is a great rock record to this day. And another band that really just hit me in the heart the moment I heard them was Stained. Hearing Aaron Lewis was incredible. I mean, when I first heard him on It's Been a While, wow, it just made my heart melt. And I'm pretty sure that the first time I heard him was when a lot of people, maybe even you, heard Stained was Outside, that live version where Fred Durst is kind of yelling in the chorus and stuff from the Family Values tour. That's the first Stained track I ever heard, that live version of Outside. And I still like that version better than their studio version, but that's just me. Both of them rock. I know that Stained also had a huge hit before then, which was Mud Shovel. Great track. But when it comes to Aaron Lewis, there's something about the way that he sang in his lyrics that was very relatable. I mean, I felt like he was singing to me about his personal experience, but I also felt like somehow he understood what I was going through and what people were going through. It was just music that everyone could relate to, and it was very personal and real. I mean, I could tell that it came from a very real place. And then when I first got into radio, my first radio job, the very first night, I got to play a Stained track off 14 Shades of Grey called Price to Play. And to this day, that's my favorite Stained track because I have such good memories of it being just one of the very first songs that I ever hit that button and introed. And I think I was probably even giving away that record on the air that weekend, I think. But I love that song, and I've seen Stained in concert probably 5 or maybe even more, at least 5 times. And they've only played that once, I believe. I don't know why. but I'm going to get to the bottom of it because if you haven't guessed yet, our guest on the show is Mike Mushok from Stained. I think I said his last name right. I don't know, Mike. I apologize if I didn't. But Aaron Lewis, obviously the voice of Stained, and I've interviewed him a bunch over the years. Really great guy, very down to earth, very passionate about music and his beliefs. But I've actually never interviewed Mike from Stained, and I do think that a lot of people forget the factor that he actually plays in the band, and that I believe that even though Aaron Lewis is the voice of Stained's guitar riffs and the way that Mike writes guitar music and the way that he plays the music is a huge part of Stained's sound. He is just a focal point of the band, and I think that he is just such a crucial part of the secret sauce, I guess you could say, of Stained. I'm very excited to have Mike on the show. I've wanted to interview him for years because, as I mentioned, I've interviewed Aaron Lewis a bunch, but I've never interviewed Mike. And I know he's very talented and he has a lot of great insights about Stained because he's been with the band from day one. Not many people in a band who's been around for more than 2 decades at this point. Not many people, I'm trying to say, have been in the same band for more than 2 decades, but that is the case with Mike. It's going to be an amazing show, and you know I'm going to ask him about Price to Play because I need to know, why is that track not in the playlist? I mean, it was a charting hit back in probably 2003, and I think it should be in the playlist. I'm going to get to the bottom of it, and it's going to be a fun show as always. It's Anne Erickson, and you are rocking the Audio Inc. Radio show, which I might change the name eventually to the Anne Erickson Show on Audio Inc. Radio. Don't get confused if you see it changed in your iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts, just because the show is different from the publication Audio Inc. Radio, which is a news and critique. The latest rock and metal news, interviews, critique, reviews, stuff like that, but the podcast is different, so I might change the name. I will keep you posted. But I'm definitely starting a Patreon account, which means that if you love listening to the show, which I hope that you do, I would love for you to get on there and you can subscribe. And I've got price ranges that are very $1 a month, and it goes up from there. But you'll get some extra goodies, some photos, exclusive fun photos, and just random stuff like that, because it does cost money to do the podcast. And a few people told me you should do this because some people might want to support the show. And I've been holding off, but I thought, why not? So you get to know me a little bit better on there. You get some extras that nobody else gets and some personal touches. So check that out. And if you head to itsmeanne.com, that's itsmeanne.com, itsmeanne.com. You can link up on my personal Facebook, and you can also link up on that Patreon. You'll find a link right there. You can head there and pick whatever goodies you want, whatever way you want to connect. And I appreciate all of the great support. Twitter and Snapchat at Anne Erickson, Instagram and TikTok at Erickson Anne. And what else? Oh yeah, you can also just search Anne Erickson on Facebook and my like page will pop up and you can just like it, which I just started the like page because I thought, why not? I do a lot of different things, and I decided I'm going to start a like page where I share all of my stuff. And if you haven't checked out my band yet, Upon Wings, do that at uponwings.com for female-led metal music. And kind of fun fact, Mike from Stained, he's also in Saint Asonia. Corey Lowry was in Saint Asonia. Corey Lowry is a part of Upon Wings, and that he has mixed some of our music, and he also did Amazing Grace with me last year. We did a version of Amazing Grace together. So a lot of different things, roundabout way that Upon Wings is linked forever to Stained, kind of. All right, let's get into it. I'm very excited. How about you? All right, I thought so. We are hanging out with Mike from Stained. And by the way, we're going to talk about a brand new release that's out. Live, It's Been a While, which really cool. It was recorded at the band's first concert back after a 5-year hiatus in Connecticut back in October of 2019, which is pretty much a hometown gig for the guys of Stained. They performed a bunch of great hits. I mean, Break the Cycle, which just turned 20. That's so crazy that Break the Cycle is officially 2 decades old. And they played all the hits. That is available now. We're going to talk about that and much more. Let's do it.
Hey, what's up? This is Mike with Stained. You listen to Anne Erickson on Audio Inc. Radio.
Hey, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks. Well, first of all, how have you been doing this past year when things have been, just so crazy?
No, sure. Been okay. We've just been, kind of like everybody else, just, here and, doing what we're told we can for the most part, it seems, But honestly, for myself, if I'm not on the road, it's kind of been the same. I'm usually home. So, when it first happened, we were here, and I have twins that are 14 now, and, everything kind of stopped, and all their activities stopped, and, we were just here. But it was actually kind of nice. I mean, there was really no place you had to be, and, we just kind of enjoyed each other, and, their things kind of opened up a bit, and just stayed busy with that. So it's been okay.
Well, that's good. And of course, it's very exciting that Stained has your first album in 9 years out live. It's been a while. What made you guys want to release a live set right now?
It was something that we had done. We got back together, towards the end of 2019 and did a handful of shows. And, we were going out with, a larger production we had used in the past. And, having not played in so long, we thought it'd be kind of cool to kind of, capture what that was. And we had 2 shows at kind of what we kind of consider hometown shows at casinos here in Connecticut. And so we filmed that. And I think, the idea of the live album kind of came from that, is that, we captured it. We, watched it, we're listening to the audio, and it's like, just put something out. So, that's really what it was, is that, we had captured that and thought it'd be, something kind of cool to just put out there.
Right. And what did it feel like to get back on stage with the guys after 5 years apart? Because that was your first show together in about 5 years.
Yeah, I know. And even the stuff that we did 5 years before was really just kind of like one tour. Listen, it was great to be able to get back up there and play those songs again, and just be able to revisit that. Something I had always looked forward to, and was hoping that we could make happen. Figured we could, and was glad we were able to.
Right, and it's hard to believe, but we just passed the 20th anniversary of Break the Cycle, which was such a huge record for its era, in my opinion. Did you ever think that Break the Cycle would go on to have the success that it did?
I go back about when we did it. I kind of talk about how I remember when the album was done, we were all listening to it, and I felt like we had accomplished what we wanted, and I was really proud of it. But no, nobody really could never predict, there's been things that I thought were going to do great that haven't. So, you don't really know, So we were just very thankful for, what that record did, and, really kind of how it helped, set up our career. And it was great, again, to kind of revisit that as well, and, get together and play those songs, some of which we hadn't played in. I don't think we ever played out live, So it was a lot of fun.
What do you most remember about that Break the Cycle era?
I remember that first week and just, how well the record did. That I never expected. That was number one for, 3 weeks in a row. And I just remember, some of the shows that we did around then, like when that came out. I remember we did this free show in Atlanta at Olympic Park, and they had this concert series where every Friday night they have a band come in and they'd play this free show, and whoever wanted to come could come and do it. And I remember they said, we usually get about 10,000 people or so, and I remember we were in this tent backstage, and the police came in. They're like, there's 45,000 people here. Can you guys go on now? They had us go on earlier, and just things like that were just, it was just cool. It was just really a real fun time.
Wow. What does it feel like to perform those songs now? And I mean, obviously those songs are on the live set and everything. They really have a strong longevity.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. Like I said, I mean, it was fun to go back and be able to kind of, go back to that time and, relearn those songs and play them and get together as a band and play them. And I was actually really happy with the way we had that pay-per-view thing that went on this past weekend. I was actually really happy with the way that it came out, the way that it was edited together with some of the old video footage that we were able to find and from that era and the interviews that went along. So I was just real happy with the whole thing, the way that it turned out.
And in about 2 years, we're going to have that 20th anniversary of 14 Shades of Grey, which is like so hard to imagine for me. I love that record. And first of all,
thank you.
Yeah. So first of all, one of the first songs I ever played on the radio was Price to Play because I started in radio in 2003. And I love that track. I feel like you guys don't play it live a ton, but I don't know. It's probably because you have so many other hits to choose from.
I don't know. We have played it. We've kind of toyed with that song. I mean, here and there where we've played it. The chorus is really high. It's hard. There's a note in there that's hard. I mean, so I think it's a hard song to play. Like night after night, vocally. I mean, it can be kind of bitching. Okay. So, but yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's 20th anniversary of that. I know. It's
It's so trippy. What's your best memory from that 14 Shades of Grey album cycle? Because things were a little bit different, just even 2 years later.
No, absolutely, they were. It all kind of blends. It was. It was kind of like after Break the Cycle. What I remember about 14 Grey was that it was really hard to follow up what Break the Cycle was, because there was an expectation from, management or record company. I remember joking at the time, it's been a while, 12 times and send it to them and tell them it's the record because that's what they want. You know what I mean? It's like there's, all these other people now. I remember we did Dysfunction. I mean, nobody said a word to us. We just went, we recorded the record, we turned it in, we put it out, we toured, and then after the it's a record that everybody gets involved and has an opinion, and so I know 14 Shades of Grey even harder because of the cycle, and that was really kind of put on us by some of the outside people that you deal with. But listen, the bottom line is everybody wanted to do well, and we did as well. So you kind of just deal with that.
No, that makes sense. And I remember on Dysfunction, you guys had the big hit Mud Shovel, which of course, did super well. But I think a lot of people always think of It's Been a While kind of as your guys' first hit. But in my opinion, it was really Mud Shovel.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you. And that's a song that, I think I said before, I don't think we've ever played a gig where we haven't played that song. You know what I mean? So, and I mean, that goes back, that was on our first record, Tormented, the independent record that we did, Mud Shovel.
And a lot of people got to know Stained in the same era on the Family Values tour, which I wish I had been at that. I was a little young, I think, to go on that one. But what is your best memory from that run?
Just kind of the camaraderie of all the other bands. But I mean, I gotta say, it's super sad, man. I remember going around at the end of that tour, and I had a drum head that had all the bands sign it. And I mean, Wayne Static was on there, Scott Weiland was on there. I mean, Chester was on there. And it's like, oh my God, more than half of the singers aren't around anymore. I mean, it's just crazy to think of that. But I mean, listen, those tours were a lot of fun for sure. I mean, it was like I said. I mean, it's just a fun time.
And I was actually going to ask you about Chester Bennington losing, one of the greatest voices out of your era of music. Did you know him, and what are your thoughts on losing him? And I totally forgot about Wayne Static being kind of part of your genre as well.
Yeah, he was. They were. Static X was on that too. Yes, I did know Chester. I mean, Aaron knew him and hung out with him more, but I mean, I hadn't seen him, much since then. I mean, a couple of times we had played with them since. But I mean, every time I saw him, he was just a super sweet guy. And he said it. I mean, what a great voice, you know. Yeah, it's just so sad. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's just
Right.
You just kind of wish that people realize that there's help out there. You know what I mean? And it gets to the point where they think that there's no other solution. I don't know. I know it's devastating what they leave behind.
So on a brighter note, I feel like post-grunge, quote unquote, really has staying power. I mean, if you turn on a modern rock radio station today, you still hear Stain and Shinedown and Seether and all these bands that broke out during that time. What do you think it is about post-grunge that has that kind of longevity?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's kind of an honesty to it. You know, I mean, I think that, you know, I feel like from, you know, my perspective, what Stained is, I feel like, you know, a lot of, you know, what Aaron sings about people can relate to, because I mean, it's things that he's gone through and emotions that he's felt, and I think, you know, it's probably the same for, you know, Brent and Sean and, you know, that same type of group that you talk about, you know. And besides, I mean, as with Chester, those guys are all just, you know, fantastic singers and have just such great voices, I think, you know what I mean? I just think there's a lot of talented people that kind of came out of that era. Not that there's not now, there is, you know, but I mean, it's just, I think that, you know, they've kind of been able to stick around a bit, which is fantastic.
And I think that's actually a great point that you mentioned, the honesty of the music. I don't think I ever really thought of it that way, but when I listen to that music, what I love is that I remember when I first heard bands like you guys or Shinedown or whatnot, and it was so relatable because it wasn't just happy music. It was music of different emotions and that sort of thing. And I do think that the honesty, probably people just, that's timeless.
Sure. Yeah, because everybody kind of has those feelings, right? I mean, it's, yeah.
I was just laughing to myself because Limp Bizkit, I know that you guys, you know, they're not, I guess, post-grunge, they're new metal or whatnot, but I kind of lumped them into what you guys did, you know, obviously, because you guys were like close with Fred Durst and stuff, and I think their emotion was anger. Like, they're so angry.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, that's a great emotion. I mean, I kind of like, you know, put Rage Against the Machine and that kind of thing, you know what I mean? It's like, you want to get in a room and break everything in it, you know what I mean? So,
I know.
Listen, you know, Pantera was kind of like that for me too, you know what I mean? Love that stuff too.
I love it. So can we expect to hear any new Stained music in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, we're working on that now. You know, it's, Aaron was finishing up a country record he's just about done with, and I think the idea was once that's completed, we're going to, there's a bunch of songs kicking around. It's just kind of, you know, sorting through that stuff, seeing what, if anything, we like, and, you know, figuring out, you know, I mean, I imagine, you know, having that put out a real record of new music in, you know, 10 years, we're gonna be pretty critical of what it is and want to make sure that it's, you know, that it's great. So, but yes, there is talk of that. We actually signed a record deal and, you know, have a deal to do a new record.
Awesome. So you have to now.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's nice when you do that because it kind of makes you do it. Makes you have to do it. You don't have it out. You know what I mean?
And it appears touring and festivals and stuff like that is coming back, which is awesome. Do you think that these concerts are going to be kind of like they were before, where everyone's going to be really close and rocking out? Or do you think it's going to be kind of different at first? Because I wonder that, you know, going to a show, I have no idea what it's going to be like.
No, sure. It's a really good question. I think it's going to be based upon state by state. It kind of almost feels like what those regulations are. You know what I mean? So I think being in a band, playing, and going from state to state, you'll be able to see that. And I think that the states that the people live in, they'll just kind of, you know what the rules are there and hopefully abide by them, you know. But I mean, I think for the most part, I mean, I kind of feel like, I know like the stuff that we're looking to do is outside, and I kind of feel like that's, you know, a much safer environment. You know, and I know that I live in Connecticut. I know that a lot of the, you know, I think next week actually everything kind of changes outside where, you know, most of the regulations are gone and I think it's just a mask indoors, you know, and it's like 70% of the state is vaccinated now or something, you know, whatever it is. And, you know, listen, people want to get that, they can. If they don't have to, right? So, yeah, I think that, you know, based upon the state probably going to be pretty similar, to what it was. I don't think it'll be too different.
Yeah, and I agree. Outdoor stuff, I think people feel a lot more comfortable, at least at first. So that's cool that you guys are doing outdoor stuff. And is there anything new with Saint Asonia?
Yeah, actually, we're actually working on an EP. There's a same kind of type of thing. There's been some songs going back and forth, and I think we actually have a call tomorrow and try to figure out who's going to produce it and just get a collection of some new material out there as well.
Is there anything else in your world musically? Are you working with any bands or producing? Because I believe you do some producing, don't you?
No, I've worked with some people, but no, not as far as that goes. No, there isn't. There are other things that I do, but we have a little production company. We've done some VR videos with VR sessions and some things. If you go there, in fact, you brought up Chester. I was going to bring that. We did a acoustic version of "Crawling" and a benefit that we did for Aaron and stuff on that. That's I thought was a pretty cool version of it, which was a lot of fun. It was fun to do that. I actually have a little restaurant venue outside of Gillette Stadium in Foxborough, and I help book the acts for that. So that keeps me busy as well.
Awesome. So where can people find you and Stained, and follow you guys online?
Probably just the Stained socials. I don't have any, so I would say, Stained.com.
I know, there's so much now, right? It's like TikTok and Snapchat and like everything.
Yeah, but the old bands like us use TikTok. I feel like that's like for like my kids.
Right. Right. I still don't. I have one, but I don't post videos dancing or anything. I'm like, I don't know what to do with this.
Come on, you don't?
I know, I need to start.
Right, exactly.
Well, thank you so much. It's been really awesome talking with you. Is there anything else you want to add?
No, all good. I appreciate the support. Thanks for the time. And thank you very much.
Mike from Stained, thank you for being an amazing guest on my show. And don't forget to check out their new record, Live, It's Been a While, which is really cool because it captures that moment in 2019 when the guys had not performed together in 5 years. And as Mike mentioned, they hadn't even done a proper tour in much longer than that. So it was a really cool moment just to see Stained up there performing these songs that have such longevity, and these tracks mean so much to many people. When I hear It's Been a While, I'm taken back to the first time I heard it and a guy that I had a crush on for whatever reason. I think because we were talking about Stained and I told him how much I love Stained and I love It's Been a While. And yeah, it reminds me of this guy I had a crush on a long time ago. So that's what I mean. These tracks mean something different to everyone, and they just have a permanent place in music history. And I really hope that when Stained becomes eligible to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which they could be already, but probably not because it's been 20 years for Break the Cycle. They did have a few releases before then, of course, but whenever they're eligible at that 25-year mark, I really do hope that Stained gets in, because I think that they are very crucial to that era of rock music history. That's my vote. Just saying. I want Stained to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I am calling it right now. I'm Anne Erickson, and wow, as always, it was a fun show. Great to hang out with you here. And don't forget that if you haven't yet, I want you right now to subscribe. Just search Anne Erickson or search Audio Inc. Radio wherever you rock out to podcast. Hit subscribe, and it's free. It's easy. You get to hang out with me, which hopefully is a bonus. And that way we can stay in touch and you can be updated instantly about the next big show, because you'll find out first. I often wait to post a new show on social media just a little bit, so you'll be the very first one to get that notification. And if you are on Apple, I would really appreciate a 5-star review. Thank you for being awesome. Thank you for hanging out on the show. And don't forget to link up with me online. I'm online pretty much all the time, just way too much. Find me on Facebook. Just search Anne Erickson on Facebook and my like page should pop up. Twitter and Snapchat at Anne Erickson. Instagram and TikTok at Erickson Anne. And you can also easily add me on all social platforms. Just go to itsmeanne.com. That's itsmeanne.com. itsmeanne.com, and you can link up on my personal Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can check out my blog post because I've actually been posting random blog stuff. And it's not really music because I write about music so much. As you know, I write for Audio Inc. Radio and Consequence of Sound and a bunch of different outlets, the Oakland Press. I mean, I could go on and on. The Riff, of course, my radio station I work at. So I don't really write about music on my personal blog, but I write about random fun stuff. So you can check that out at itsmeanne.com. Also, if you're into video stuff, which I'm pretty sure that you are, you can check out Audio Inc.'s YouTube channel for all of our video interviews, which you will not hear on the show because this is just audio. If you want to check out the video ones, please subscribe at youtube.com/Audio Inc. Radio. And one last thing, check out my band Upon Wings at uponwings.com and follow us on all those socials and stuff like that. Once again, thank you very much for rocking with me. And until next time, be safe, God bless, and we'll rock soon. It's Anne Erickson on Audio Inc. Radio.
It's Audio Inc. with Anne.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Audio Inc. Radio podcast. Subscribe to our channel so you never miss an episode. Get inked online at audioinkradio.com. I'm Anne Erickson for the Audio Inc. Radio podcast.